Hi, Satu. How are you?
Hello, Andrea. I'm very good. Very
Good.
interesting.
Very, very interesting. We're doing this Zoom that is actually supposed to be a Facebook Live, and it didn't work. You,
Yeah, we accidentally broke the internet.
we did. We broke the internet, and you were telling me that the diva was actually asking us to do that,
Yeah.
and uh, and what we wanted to talk about in this live that is not live was actually the X-Men classes. And what capacities do we actually have that we have not acknowledged? Like, for instance, breaking the internet, even if it's only for one day.
And that's actually like when you hit the record for this, and we were just before this talking about the old times and cooking food on the fireplace and having
Exactly.
candles and not having all this like social media and everything. And then I said from the past to the future. And
Yeah.
X-Men are the future. So now I'm just started wondering like what kinds of capacities do we all have that would create a different future?
Yes, totally. Thank you for that one. Because since I did my first X-Men class, that was actually with Diva, um, I started acknowledging so many areas of my life and my being that I had been judging so much, and actually seeing how they are capacities. So what I realize now with you saying this also is like, how many other capacities do we all have that we have not even acknowledged yet and we haven't even discovered yet?
And maybe they don't really even like fit into this time right now. Like how many of us
Exactly.
have that sense that I don't fit here? And you like miss the olden times. I used to always have that. Like I really missed certain times in history where you
Yeah.
think that maybe future. I think we mostly just miss the past and we think that we would have fit in better with that. When we don't
Yes.
realize that what is the future that we all can choose and what is the future that we are preparing for.
Totally. Totally. If we look at this last, what is it, year and a half now of massive change, totally unexpected change, where the whole world is going completely insane, what is actually being created and what are we actually creating that we have not even acknowledged yet? And like you say, we as X-Men, we are the future. And what future we're trying to create, because you were saying something beautiful also before we went on, started recording this, that you started sending like physical cards and how much that was appreciated. And yes, that and cooking with fire instead of electricity and having candlelight. How cozy isn't candlelight at home? you know and uh, and it's all those things that we have kind of forgotten slash ignored and replaced with like fast and easy-ish solutions, when in fact there's so much more that is to be really appreciated.
Yeah, we got like so excited about the modern things and all the like, well, everything that's happening exactly right now that we forget to look at like what actually worked in the past and what could work in the future because we get
Yeah,
so like fixated on what is right now.
exactly. And what if if one thing didn't have to replace the other?
Yeah.
What if we could actually have it all?
Yeah.
And as X-Men, I think we both realize that we can actually have it all.
This is one of my favorite things on like the last X-Men class that I took with Diva. One of the things that she actually started with was this whole thing of like choosing something that, well, basically being in awe of everything that you're choosing every day. Because we have that capacity. We as like X-Men, as different ones, as those who are aware of different futures, who have all these weird capacities,
Yeah,
we are the ones who could have it all.
exactly, exactly. And the other thing that showed up for me in the last few days, I guess, well, maybe the last few hours or the last few months, time is another thing that is completely irrelevant for us. but I've been realizing how, whenever I'm not being me, whenever I'm not actually acknowledging me as an X-Men, and with that, I also mean that when I'm being me and acknowledging the X-Men that I am, is that I stop being the happy, silly, playful, creative, crazy motherfucker that I am, which I actually enjoy, which is fun for me. And then I start going into this, you know, pretending to be a human instead of actually being the humanoid X-Men, and creating more shit around me.
It's so funny. I have had the same experience.
Oh yeah? Well, that makes me feel so much better of not being alone.
Yeah, but these past, I would say like a couple months maybe, where it's been that kind of thing, and you go so intensely into this like normalcy. And I guess that's like in the moments when something really different is available, and if you don't choose it, if you don't acknowledge it, then you really go into that normal and the depression and all of that.
Yeah. And it takes a fraction, it's really a split second to go in that downward spiral. It's just one tiny little ounce of a thought. And I mean thought, because it's your brain that kicks in, trying to drag you, you know, back into this normality and whatever else it is. And then you're just like swishing in this downward spiral, and it gets deeper and deeper. And like, oh my God.
It's amazing how we have, because one of the things is X-Men, we have this capacity to exponentialize everything. Exactly. So when there is something that's like, you go into like, that's a little depression. It's so depression. It's
yes.
Like I'm gonna die.
Yep. So that's me like just a few hours ago.
Yeah. So I acknowledge the capacity that we have to take everything to the extreme very fast.
Yes, exactly. And the great thing about that is that it takes a split second also to get out of that crap.
It does. Yeah. And with our bodies too.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about the class that Diva is having very, very soon in Devon, in England. God, I wish I could be there in person. I'm going to be online. Oh, well, what else is possible? And well, it hasn't completely been decided yet. So let's see. And I'm so excited to see what else we can explore with this. And because with the first class, the thing that showed up for me is that, you know, a few years ago, I went through a really massive depression that lasted several months. And I was actually suicidal, seriously suicidal. I had actually made up my mind. And that's when I discovered Access. And they gave me this label of being bipolar. So I bought into all of that crap. And I started buying all these books so that I could identify myself even more and make it even more solid and more real. Like, yes, well, that's me, and that's me, and that's me, and that, you know, and only to hear after a few months of actually being in this mental hospital, which I actually went to, asking them to lock me up for my own safety. And at the end of that, they said, no, we actually decided that you are not bipolar, because it's quite normal. You're just a very creative person that's going through a very deep depression because of, you know, the bankruptcies that you're going through, the money, and then all of a sudden lack of money and debts you're going through, and the divorce you're going through. So it's kind of normal. So no, you're not bipolar. I was like, Jesus, what? Couldn't you just tell me right at the beginning, hey man, you're an X-Man, just choose something else, you know? That would have been so much easier.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Yes.
And isn't it funny also when we see those, like, you given like a diagnosis and then you read about it and you see like, actually, dude, I might have this symptom. I definitely could create this symptom. And if you don't have some of them, like, I'll make it happen.
I'll make it happen. I'll make sure that it happens.
Yeah. And then you're like the textbook version of that. They're like,
oh, completely.
No one ever has all of these. This is just like,
I had every single point, every single one.
Yeah. So
and the funny thing is that any medicine that they gave me, at one point I was on 13 of the strongest medicines that there are, including lithium, and none of them worked for me. You know, the only thing that lithium was doing is that it was putting my mood on a flat level. So I went back to the doctors and I said, hey, I mean, I'm just being a zombie. I'm not excited about anything. I'm not depressed anymore, but I'm not excited about anything. I'm not excited about living. And this doesn't really work for me. And I have a lot of other like side effects. So nah, I want to stop it. So nothing was actually working. Try and fix a humanoid X-Men body with normal medicine. Interesting.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, all of the normalcy thing and trying, those of us who think that we're like the most normal or who like try to be the most normal are probably also often the most X-Men, the most outrageous. And we just like are really, really good at making ourselves so normal.
Yes.
My mom was like that. It was amazing.
I see. I mean, yeah. And has your mom now acknowledged of being an X-Men?
Yeah, and it's because like
Cool.
I'm a little bit different, and my sister is way weirder than me. And then my mom was like, "I'm totally normal." I'm like, you, "Have you seen your kids?" And everybody else was like, "Have you seen your kids?" And she took some access classes, and even then she read about X-Men. She's like, "My kids are totally like this. I'm not." And then at some class, she was like, "Wait a second."
maybe I'm a little bit like that too.
And she started reading about all the information that you can find about X-Men. There's a really amazing book, The Would You Teach a Fish to Climb a Tree?
Exactly.
And she was like, oh my God, all of this like totally makes sense. Of course I am. And like,
Yeah.
it's just so hilarious. Like
Yeah.
you think you're so normal until you one day you're like, maybe I'm not.
Maybe I'm not. And for me, it's so funny because I mean, being a photographer, and I have a lot of classes for photographers. The photographers actually think they're about photography when they're actually not. That's what I love about photography. You show something with light, like you just change the point of view of the camera. You say, you change your point of view, you change your reality. And people go like, yeah, I have to move my camera. Well, maybe you don't just have to move your camera. So, and I see all these amazing X-Men creators and creatives, including photographers, still buying into the being normal thing and trying to do things the normal way, and not realizing the true X-Men and incredible creators that they are. So
that's not really what they came here to be, normal.
Exactly. Like, they know it. No, otherwise
yeah.
would anybody in this reality actually choose to be a photographer as a profession? No. I mean, I was lucky enough to have, or smart rather enough to have my parents that actually pushed me to become a photographer at the age of 16. But the thing that I hear the most is like, oh, you want to be a photographer? Why don't you get a real job? And and most creatives are like that. Most creatives are X-Men.
Yeah.
And the minute that they actually willing to acknowledge that, God, what else is possible?
Yeah.
Really, what
and
else
then
is
you
possible?
can use whatever it is that you do, like whatever type of thing, to actually create the future that you're aware of.
Exactly. And when I'm talking about creative people, I don't just mean creative as in the traditional sense. I mean anybody that is interested or even curious enough to choose a different life, to choose a life that is actually working just for them, that doesn't even make sense to anybody else.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to yourself even.
Exactly. You just get it that it's light. Yeah, I'll choose this because it's light.
Yeah. And also, like, I was also mentioning a little bit about the bodies, how fast we can also change and create different things with bodies as X-Men, because we have such a like different thing. And I've had, especially in the last year, so many experiences where I'm like, whoa, this is a really intense thing in the body. And I've even had these things where I was like, I'm not sure if I will actually survive this.
Yeah.
And then you just find the one thing that is your point of view that's creating that 100% change in like nanoseconds. Your whole body changes completely from this like dying into living.
Yes.
So we have that kind of capacity to actualize things super quickly.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, a lot of people that are going to watch this in the future are probably thinking, what the hell are they talking about? And we also read these stories about, mothers that, lift a car because their baby's under the car, that sort of thing happens all the time. And I had an experience myself in Dubai a few years ago. I was there with in the desert with Amanda and Victor, and we were going on these quads on the dunes. And the last dune, I jumped a little bit too high, and I got a several 100-kilo quad falling on my back. I mean, I should have died. And I actually pushed the quad away, not with my hands, not with my legs, but with my energy.
Yeah.
And it touched my body, so I still have scars on it. But I should have broken every single bone in my body and died. And no, I was just in pain for a few days, and I still walked away from the whole thing. I actually got on the quad and drove it back, and it was a little bit, sore for a few days, and then it was fine. So,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, that is not science fiction. Or rather, I would rather say that science fiction is actually not fiction at all.
Yeah.
We have everything that we see in the movies, especially the X-Men movies. Well, those kind of things actually exist.
And often it's even like way greater in the movies and all of that. They try to make it still somehow fit into this reality.
Exactly.
What we have is like even greater. And what you were talking about, the power of the being.
Yes.
Like that you can like even affect physical things like that if you're
Yes.
willing. So it's,
if you're willing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're willing to stop being normal.
Exactly. Stop being normal.
Yeah.
Get your cape out of the wardrobe.
Yeah. And I've also had that, like the depressed and all of that thing going on for a while, and then it keeps like changing all the time, and then I'm like super excited about stuff, and then like everything's so horrible. And then today I actually have this, if any of you watching this, if you know access body processes, there's the biomimetic mimicry, which is basically the body process for X-Men. I highly recommend that if you've had any of these weird things with the 90% brain capacity and function process.
Yes.
I had that for 15 minutes. I was like, immediately when it started, I started talking all these like outrageous things. I'm like, oh my God, am I really saying all of this out loud right now? And then like jump out of the bed and started singing this song that's about this, it's like a really wild song and everything. I'm like, this is me. This is like me, the outrageous me.
Yeah.
And that just ties me into how much as X-Men we have that like 90% brain capacity and function, not the 2% that most people use.
Exactly.
Not mind function, but brain function. And what's possible with that.
Exactly. What is possible with that?
So I think this video has been a little bit outrageous and things we probably should not have said. So
exactly. Oops. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. It's not an accident.
It's definitely not an accident. Just like the internet crashing today.
Yeah.
Funny enough, with Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp just crashing at the same time.
Yeah, exactly when we're supposed to do the live. So
yes, and we still find a way. And if we couldn't have Zoom, we would have still found a way.
Exactly.
It would have been long letters.
Yeah.
Postcards. We might have written a book by tonight.
And we would have been so stalkerish and so like inventive that we would have figured all of your addresses and we would have sent it to you.
You would get it in the mail by the morning.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So yeah, what else is possible? Like
truly, what else is possible?
With so much ease.
Yes. So yes, for you guys watching this, whenever you watch this, what would it be like to start exploring your X-Men capacities with a most amazing friend of ours, Diva Diaz, that speaks about X-Men in a completely unique way. And she is really an X-Men.
And like I've done so many access classes, and every time I take a class with her, I'm always so like surprised and like mind blown, and I'm like,
yes. The thing with Diva is that I love is the elegance. And when I mean elegance, I don't mean just the elegance of her way of being and dressing and whatever, but it's this thing that Gary talks about of achieving the biggest effect with the least amount of effort.
Yeah.
And that is even in her facilitations of her classes.
And the elegance of difference also.
Yes, totally.
So the class is soon.
The class is very soon.
In Devon and online.
Exactly. We'll put everything down below here. Wherever down
up.
below.
Who knows?
Or maybe up, who
on
knows?
The side.
Maybe everywhere.
In your head.
We'll put it in your head. You already know when and where and how. So see you all then, X-Men.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Satu. Thank you so much. So grateful for you.
You too.
Go and have fun and don't create any more of that crap. Create more fun and crazy stuff.
Yeah, you
Yay.
too.
Yes, thank you. Bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.